Hey guys, Jeff Danker here, and right now I want to talk about a subject of the worst mistakes that we as hunters make as we hunt the rut. Well, man, this is, all over the place with this one. I mean, the worst mistakes that I've made that I think people make during hunting the rut, and probably just to boil it down, it's real simple, but it's just not putting in the time. And when I say that, I want to be careful with that because I know, a lot of us, we work and we can only put in so much time. We got families, we got ball games, we got all that. I get it. But just diving into the worst mistakes it's all about in the rut. It's just a matter of time. If you're in a decent place and you're hunting a deer, a buck, they are on the move. It's the number one time that a deer is covering ground, and that's all you need. You just need him to cover ground. And so, but you got to be in the good places. You got to be, I think along with that is I would truly, and like I said, your grandpa might slap me with, just right in the ear, but is to say, don't use that philosophy of, oh man, I'm just going to sit here, and if I sit here long enough, it'll happen. I would tell you, you got to put in time, but if you're in that time and it's just dead, it's dead woods, a lot of times you're in the wrong place. And I'll use this analogy, is how many of us have said this? How many, you can walk in a cafe, right, and you can be on this end of the bar after deer season, and the old timer down here says, man, it's the best rut I've ever seen. It was the best rut I've ever seen. And then right down here on the other end of the bar, this other hunter that was over here hunting maybe the same county, and he says, man, we didn't even have a rut this year. We didn't have a rut. It just, we have those arguments, right? I mean, every year someone says, no, we didn't have a rut here. But this is what I believe happened. This guy, he had a hot doe. He was in a place where he had a hot doe, and this rut was unbelievable. And let me just tell you this. A hot doe doesn't just last a day. When you have a hot doe in an area and you can recognize that place might be good for the next 5 days just from the stench of the woods. Just from her track in the woods, you're going to have activity. And then down here, he might have just been a half mile down the river and he ain't got a hot doe. And it causes things to be dead. And so this is things that, the reason I bring this up is because don't get hung up in your dead zone. Move. I don't care if you move 150 yards, go somewhere deeper in the timber, somewhere where it might be happening. You might run into that hot doe. And this is the time of year that I believe you don't have to be as careful. I ain't telling you to be stupid out there in the woods, but just, I don't think you have to be as careful. Just move. Get in a different position. I would tell you to continue to play the wind, that kind of stuff. And then, maybe the other thing that I'd want to tell you, if let's just say it gets dark at 6 o'clock in the rut where you live, and you don't get off work till 5, and you wouldn't be able to be in your stand till 5:15, and you in your mind think, well, I don't want to mess things up. No, do it. Get in there. If you got the wind, go hunt those 45 minutes. I truly believe this is the time of year to do that. Any time in the woods in the rut is a time you might shoot a giant that you don't even know nothing about. So my worst mistakes are, I think, of me hunting till 9:30 in the morning. I would tell you, if you can have that self-control of being in there till 11, getting in there right before daylight and hunting till 11, maybe going out and eating with your buddies, having that camaraderie with them, and then getting back in at 1:30. So kind of the philosophy of our uncle or our grandpa, and again, man, I know our uncles and our grandpas killed so many deer, and we have so much to learn from, so I definitely don't want to be disrespectful in any means. But I will tell you, for me, I think I made a lot of mistakes just sitting. And, I killed some deer doing it, but I took the new mentality of, during the rut, don't get stuck in that rut. And it's, for that pun, but move. Be aggressive. speed scout, go in and find the freshest sign, or observe and go in deep. And I'm talking about guys where I just give you an example that happened to me in Iowa. I'm in Iowa, and I had hung the most perfect set. I'd went in like we all do, right, in the summer, and I hung his stand. I trimmed it all perfect. It was unbelievable. But it just wasn't right. I mean, I'm sitting there, and so much of me sat there for a couple of days, and I finally just said, you know what? And I literally moved, I pulled that stand at 9 o'clock in the morning. My camera guy was looking at me like I was crazy. And I walked in about 200 yards and really had chills on the back of my neck, because, I mean, I'm seeing these giant rubs. I know that I'm getting in the thick of this, heart of this timber. And I stopped right there. We hung a set, and wasn't tiptoeing. I had a pole saw with me. We hung this set. I trimmed everything I needed, which made noise. And literally, guys, I hung my pole saw on the back of the tree. We climbed in that set, and I had a great hunt that evening, a great hunt, by making all that noise. And the next morning, I called in a big 6x6, 12-point, and shot him at 5 yards. And that's just the example. And that's the example for myself that was my change back in the day, when I thought, you know what? I'm going to hunt this way from now on. And so that is, I think, maybe the biggest mistake for me, per se, was not being aggressive that time of year. And let me just tell you, it wasn't in my bones, if you will, to be able to do that. It took me time, but now that's the hunter that I've become, and I think it's made me a lot more successful. So, hopefully this is something that you can throw into your bag of tricks and during the rut. Spend that time in the woods, but not necessarily in the same stand, Get in there where it's happening, and don't be the guy on the left that is sitting at the cafe and he don't think there's a rut because he's in one place, and this guy was fortunate enough to have that hot doe. In a sense, go find that hot doe. So that's my 2 cents. Like I said, that's it's just from an old hunter that is trying to never stop learning, trying to add to my game, I guess, if you will, and a fun tactic too, guys, a fun tactic. So good luck, be blessed out there, and again, remember, God's creation, it's fun, it is a blessing from Him for us. Have fun doing it, and I hope you shoot a giant.